Here.
Mike Allen.
Here.
Mary Peterson. Here. Jerome Big John. Jerome Big John.
Here.
Frank Mitchell.
Here.
Charles Elo. Alice Sawyer. Here. Ruben Santiago.
Here.
Henry St. Germain.
Here.
Betty Jo Rubin. Here. And myself. We have a quorum.
Okay. Purpose, this is a special meeting in reference to TIGA.
I got one thing I'd like to add on. Request from Shirley White. A request from Shirley White. So I'd make a motion to approve it.
Wait, we got one too.
Add on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Propane.
Which?
We got our youth drunk.
Okay.
Hey, Jamie mentioned something about that wage scale. That's part of that.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve with the add-ons.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. How do we want to start this? There's been a request for a special meeting to address the TIGA. Bill, you want to jump in?
Well,
Because you've sort of been a person that sort of been following this, not so much us. We've been pretty busy with a lot of other things. So maybe you can sort of fill us in.
as the council might recall, where we're at today with TIGA and the treaty structure that Attorney Jeff Nelson here has proposed is an evolution going back from a process that began about 2 years ago when a group of tribes here in Wisconsin started to try to form a coalition to start talking about online gaming and the pros and cons of tribes joining together in a coalition for the purpose of online gaming. Back then it was called the TIGA, Midwest Tribal Internet Gaming Alliance. Now the Midwest part has been dropped off, so it went to TIGA. I don't know, maybe a little bit humorously, but people thought people would remember, if it rhymed with NIGA, they would remember TIGA, so it went from TIGA to TIGA. But this is an evolution of the topic of online gaming. And through the last 2 years, where the coalition of tribes, and it's been and the participation of tribes has been on again, off again. The main players have been Lac du Flambeau, St. Croix, Red Cliff. Those have been the three main players. Bad River has been there, LCO has been there, Stockbridge has been there, Menominee has been there, Low Lake has been there, Oneida has been there. To my knowledge, Ho-Chunk and Potawatomi are the two notable tribes that have not been involved in this at all. But as we kept meeting and meeting and meeting, and I think a couple of council members, Chairman Molson was even in a couple of meetings, basically it started getting to the point of, do something or get out. Get out. And that led to an MOU where 3 tribes signed the MOU to say, hey, yeah, we're into this, so we're going to start doing something. And it kind of closed the invite list to those who had signed the MOU. That even led, though, to a scenario which leads up to this is kind of become pretty apparent that there was just no way that any infrastructure or leverage or foundation for TIGA was going to move forward unless there was more of an agreed upon structure to it. And that's when Attorney Jeff Nelson was introduced to us. The board members, going back a few months ago now, might recall that I made the executive decision to retain Jeff Nelson for the benefit of TIGA at a capped expense of $5,000. I think Jeff put in $30,000 or $40,000 worth of work now, but it all got capped off.
$75,000.
$75,000? Sorry to cut you short there. And now we're to this treaty structure that could apply to TIGA. The treaty structure seems pretty clean, seems pretty solid, seems like it gives a pretty good infrastructure for this concept of TIGA to exist. Where I'm torn and where it might get a little cumbersome in today's conversation is I still have a lot of reservations about TIGA in general and the concepts of the tribes coming together in a coalition. And not so much because of the concept of it, because I think the concept has a lot of merits to it, but more so the reality of what I've lived and experienced here for the last 2 years on this topic, where it's been just so disjointed and there's really not a whole lot of indication that tribes have, the tribes here in Wisconsin have a lot of motivation to want to join together for this topic of online gaming. And I think part of that is due to the fact that simply the topic of online gaming is so skewed and so all over the map, and not sure if it's going to come into existence at a federal level, or if it's going to be state level, and how it's going to impact tribes, and how it's going to hit our impact of Wisconsin. I think it's that topic, all the variables of the topic of online gaming that are the ingredients that's skewing this treaty topic. And feel free to add on to this, Jeff, in a second here. So the bottom line is the purpose of this meeting. Jeff's presented in front of the Tribal Council before. Tribal Council had the Gaming Commission evaluate this structure. I think the Gaming Commission had some questions, perhaps, but it's my understanding that the Gaming Commission did not have any apprehension or reservations about joining TIGA. In other words, they, so to speak, blessed it or evaluated it or approved it from a regulatory standpoint. The topic here then is for the Tribal Council to make a determination, maybe today, maybe in the near future. I think ideally today was the purpose of Jeff asking for this special meeting. And that is, does the Lac-La-Flambeau tribal government have an interest of ratifying this treaty, becoming a member of TIGA? You become the first member of TIGA. No other tribe has ratified this treaty, correct? Correct. Jeff can update us probably on how many tribes have even given consideration to this and where the motivation level is throughout the region or the country. In theory, it costs, ratifying the treaty and then your name. I suppose not everybody sitting here, a couple new council members may not have even seen the treaty structure and how it's proposed, but theory is if you ratify the treaty structure and you sort of speak, say, okay, we're going to become a member of TIGA as it's known under this treaty structure, you then recognize 3 representatives that represent the Lac-La-Flambeau tribe in this TIGA meeting structure. And that could be with tribes here just in Wisconsin, it could be tribes, isolated tribes from throughout the whole country. But there would then be 3 representatives, ideally 1 from ops, 1 from regulatory, and 1 from government, ideally representing the tribe. And the thought is, under this structure that Jeff has drafted for the treaty structure, Flambeau would have 3 representatives, Tribe A, Tribe B, Tribe C, Tribe D would also have all 3 representatives, and you basically get this working group under this TIGA structure doing further due diligence, having further conversation, doing more research and determining, can online gaming be launched through this mechanism of TIGA or not. So it's joining TIGA doesn't mean you're doing anything regarding online gaming. It doesn't mean you're going live with online gaming. It means you have interest of joining a group that wants to pursue this topic further and see if outside funding can come in and help fund this venture, if other consultants or whoever might want to get involved and provide services. Just a couple of notes I want to mention. So ratifying the treaty says you're in and you want to pursue this topic further. Doesn't obligate you to anything. You can get out anytime you want to get out. Obviously, if you get in and a number of months pass or even a year passed and you invested, say, some time and energy with travel and investment into the 3 people that travel or represented the tribe, and maybe a little bit of investment to pursue some infrastructure, that type of thing, and then you want to get out, well, then obviously you're not going to get any of your money refunded, but you get out when you want to get out. The key is how much interest, how much rallying of other tribes can come into play and make this TIGA organization under this treaty structure come to life. And that's where I have a lot of reservations and apprehensions of just how well that will go. But for the simple fact, is there any harm in joining TIGA? No. Is there any upfront cost in joining TIGA? No. You might have a mentality of let's ratify the treaty so that we can at least get to the next step and talk more about this with tribes that are interested. Fine, so be it. At the moment any dollar amounts got on the table, you could say yes or you could walk out at that time. It's kind of a pursuit thing like that. And it's a hard topic to wrap up and summarize. I'm probably doing a 75% good job of doing it, but hopefully some of that makes some sense. Sorry, go
Bill,
ahead.
I got a question. It says it costs nothing to join, but then your business committee will fix a budget and then decide where the money's coming from.
Correct.
Doesn't that committee go back to the tribes to see
Absolutely.
if we're willing to fund it? That's not in here. It just says they'll fix a budget
It's not in there?
and
Okay.
decide where the money comes from.
Well, see, that's it's a great point, Butch, and it's a good example that, if the tribal government, if the tribal council did not want to ratify the treaty because you felt the treaty required some editing, that's something, and then you can go through and kind of recognize those edits. Jeff, you might want to speak to how you can fix those
That's
things.
a good
Work through those
question.
things.
Yeah,
But it's a good catch, Butch, and that certainly is the intent.
I'm not sure how long the TIGA thing has been around. I know I've been on the council a little over a year now, and it's been a discussion at a lot of our EDC meetings. And I'm just wondering, why hasn't any other tribes stepped forward and ratified the treaty?
If I just
It's
may-
like they're waiting for us to do it.
And if I just may address, that's part of my apprehension too.
How come Ho Chunk hasn't done it? How come Potawatomi, the tribes that are more wealthier, that you think they'd be all over something like this? It's lucrative.
They're gonna do it themselves, that's why.
And that's it, you know, Oneida's looking at themselves, and all the bigger tribes, a lot of bigger money's looking at themselves.
Well,
They've
I'm just-
already talked to,
Yeah, I'm just thinking,
IDT,
why hasn't
you know,
St. Croix done it? Why hasn't Red Cliff done it? Why hasn't Red River done it? Why hasn't Mille Lacs? One of the other tribes. It'd be for us.
If I may add to that, and good or bad, I'll be really candid about it, I have the exact same apprehensions. The tree structure that Jeff developed here, I think is a really solid game plan, I think it's a really solid structure. But even the best structure from which to work from doesn't mean anything's gonna get accomplished. And for all these, if not one other tribe ratifies the treaty, then it's dead, and then it goes nowhere. If a couple of tribes ratify the treaty, then the TIGA as a treaty organization is only as strong as the participation of its members. And some of you know that even before the treaty structure here, TIGA and TIGA, over the last 2.5 years, there's been a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, and even with the launch of our platform, not a single tribe has joined this platform. We're often running solo. I'm glad about that because we corner the market, you know, we monopolize the market. And there's a part of me for Wisconsin that says, great, don't join for 3 years. We'll make a lot of headway during that period of time, and from our marketing and social media standpoint. Yeah, there's all those what ifs into this, and there's no ratifying the treaty, joining TIGA is no assurance of success. There's no assurance that anybody else is going to come on board. You know, I'm loaded with apprehension about it too. You want to fill in blanks?
Sure. Thank you, first of all, for coming together. It was my request that you have a special meeting, so I really do want to thank you for coming back. I'm here in town for the Wisconsin Gaming Regulators Association meeting, and I thought it would be a great time because I did want to come back. I was here 3 months ago, I think in July, when we had just finalized the treaty and presented it to you. Since that time, I know that your gaming commission has looked at it, and that I have gone as far and wide across the country as I could to talk to tribes about it. And I'll report on what I'm finding, and I'll address your concern about why no one else. It's interesting that you say that because that's kind of how I feel too. But then also, why not lock the flambeau? You know, a lot of tribes sit there and say, well, we didn't come up with this idea. You know, you're coming in here and presenting it. They're looking at me. You're coming in here and presenting this idea, and they don't have any huge concerns. Nobody's tearing it apart, other than to say, well, what other tribes have signed this? You say that you got hired by Lake of the Torches. Why hasn't Lock the Flambeau signed it? So I said, well, you know, that's a fair point. I think it's because I've only had one meeting with council so far. They wanted to do due diligence, and I think proper due diligence. They sent it to their gaming commission, and the gaming commission hired a lawyer and took a look at it. And I hope Andrew will speak to us at some point about that. I think that was all very proper. And to tell you the truth, it hasn't really been on the table that long. It's been 3 months since I've seen you. In the big scheme of things, that's really not that long. And I first got introduced to this whole concept about 8 months ago or so.
I don't know if it is meaningful or not. How many tribes do you think have heard the treaty, know of the treaty concept? How many tribes
Yeah.
have you either talked to?
So I've spoken to probably half a dozen tribal councils, but we have an email group, and some of you folks are on that, and we go to conventions and take names and all that. That has grown to 24 tribes that are following what's going on, and have some amount of interest in this. And I'm hearing from a lot of them that they do just not want to be the first, that they just want to wait to see how it happens and what it looks like when it starts to get running. And I think I can understand that. It's human nature not to want to try to be the first, especially when it wasn't your idea. But it's a little bit interesting to watch that. I think that maybe the Confederacy meeting tomorrow offers a good chance to sit down with a couple like with Redcliffe and with St. Croix, who are also, they've been there right from the beginning. And if you all said that let's do this together all at once, then all of a sudden it'll be alive, because it takes 3 tribes to create the organization. And the 3 of you could do it all at once and kick this thing off.
When I try to digest this treaty structure concept and the concept of TIGA in general, and I think to myself, well, for what purpose are we going to try to get going here on this thing? It's for the sake of sovereignty, power, both tribes forming a coalition together. Secondarily, that power, if you will, is only going to come into play if somehow, some way, the tribes can get a head start on things. And the only way the tribes can get a head start on things is to potentially attempt to launch Class 2 gaming throughout the country, from Indian lands to Indian lands to Indian lands to Indian lands. And there's even some legality questions about that, and DOJ questions about that, and things of that nature. So where I have a lot of apprehension about the concept is it's not about ratifying the treaty, it's not about the treaty structure, it's about what is the chance of this even leading into something successful or productive? And there's 2 routes. Either the coalition forms and gets itself organized and gets itself prepared, and then patiently waits for real money wagering to be legalized, which in my opinion, especially in our jurisdiction of Wisconsin, could be 5+ years from now. So there's the route of getting organized, getting yourself prepped, and then waiting for it to be clearly legal. By then, the purpose of the coalition probably loses its magnitude, because by the time it goes legal, I think Wisconsin would be one of the last jurisdictions to go legal anyways, unless it goes legal at a federal level. And if it goes legal at a federal level, you're likely going to be up against multi-billion-dollar companies jumping into this, and then you wonder just how much power the coalition could have at that stage to gain influence. So the other alternative then would be the purpose of this coalition coming together and trying to get a head start by trying to do the legal research and the legal wherewithal to identify that, and I think this question is a huge question mark, and I think it's 50-50 at best whether this is known yet or not, as to whether tribes can legally run Class 2 gaming, like I mentioned, from reservation to reservation, from reservation throughout the country. Ratifying the treaty and bringing life to TIGA and getting some key other individuals, key other tribes in the room to talk about that concept, to me would be the first order of business for TIGA as an entity. Would be to say, okay, we've shown enough interest, we're going to form TIGA, we're going to form this business structure, and the first order of business would be, now what the heck? What are we going to do, and what can we do? And everything I've read through my brain, the only thing that even has the utmost potential of being possible would be, like I said, legalize real money, Class 2 gaming, kind of dot to dot to dot, connecting Indian lands throughout the country. That could be pursued. Whoever represents each tribe at the TIGA meetings, that could be pursued. And I think even then, it's only a determination, a legal determination. Can that be done legally? Or tribes, if you do that, is that going to be borderline legal? Is that potentially going to be susceptible to litigation? I feel as if I've heard quite a bit of feedback from this Dr. Flannery Tribal Council, that if it's borderline or questionably legal at all, I don't know if I'm speaking correctly on behalf of the council or not, and I don't mean to speak on behalf of each individual, but I've got a strong sense that unless it's absolutely legal, let's stay away from it. Which is kind of the reference towards ITOGA. Remember when we were researching ITOGA, we knew ITOGA was going to likely land in litigation and likely land the tribe in court right off the bat. You know, go live, 10 minutes later, you're going to be summoned to court. So, for whatever that means to everybody, I guess I felt it was important to make that point clear that ratifying the treaty, becoming a member of TIGA, really only gets into the next round of meetings for those that are truly interested to have that dialogue. And if that dialogue leads into just a little bit of legal review, and the legal review doesn't show that it's absolutely, without question, you could win it in any court of law, legal that the tribes could run this Class 2 gaming with real money wagering throughout the country, my sense is the opportunity for TIGA would then be dead in its tracks, and the organization would break away, or would you have any contrary
Well, maybe just a little bit of contrary, if you don't mind. By signing the treaty, you're not obligating yourself to do any particular strategy, as you said, about the Class 2 or not. It'll come together, and the organization would make those decisions, and then if Lac du Flambeau, looking in through those 3 representatives, said, no, we're not going to do that, then you could exit, and you would not be obligated other than what you already, time and energy. But I think that there's 2 other things that you could do even instead of Class 2 wagering, and that is coming together to lobby. There are so many different intertribal organizations that exist today, and their only purpose, or one of their main purposes is what I should say, is to advocate and lobby on behalf of the member tribes. And so that would be no different than TIGA could do that. It could educate both members and the public and lobby on Capitol Hill's at the state and federal level. So there is that benefit as well. And then, for 2 years you've been exchanging information among yourselves in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota about online gaming. And so you've kind of got that going already with a little informal group. But this would take it a little bit to the next level, formalize it, put leadership structure into that group, and I think maybe pull that organization up to a new level where it's actually doing more and adding more value. So even without that Class 2 play, I think you might want to think about doing TIGA. And because of it, as we said before, the risk is low in taking the action that's being proposed today. You're just saying, yeah, we'll work with other tribes. And this treaty is simply an organizational framework that just gives leadership structure to it. It's not saying that we're going to do any particular form of online gaming. At most, it's a signal that Lac du Flambeau is interested in the subject and is willing to work with other tribes on it so that you have a more powerful voice and you're not competing against each other in that space. Yes, your brick and mortar casinos are still going to compete.
I got one question. Couldn't this organization do exactly what Lac du Flambeau did? Form a free play platform to acknowledge there's a large consortium of tribes that are looking at an opportunity down the road to once the switch is flicked, then we go to live gaming.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, that alone there, because, I could just say this much, and a lot of the ones that haven't been around, Lac du Flambeau's missed the trains left the station in Lac du Flambeau many, many times because we're apprehensive or we don't want to do this. And I talked to Danny, and we asked those guys to do discovery on our behalf, and they see no problem in this, at least getting on board, seeing what it's all about. We can always step away. That's why we're tribal leaders. If the glove doesn't fit, then we can step back. I just see that I just don't want this tribe to miss an opportunity, and talking to other tribes ain't bad either. But the whole idea is that we can work out something. Look at, Bill, we got a site up and running, a free play site. I don't know how that's working, but if you got a consortium of tribes where this thing is spread all over the United States, or whatever direction that this tribe wants to go with, why not us be the first ones to do it again? If there's no cost to us right now. Maybe there wouldn't be no cost to us even after we got in it. We make the other guys pay. I mean, that's just the way you think when you do business. I mean, you know, we stuck our foot out there, why not us? So that's where I come from. And I just wanna let you guys know, which,
I agree with you, Tom, we missed the boat quite a few times, but it's supposed to have been infighting right here on the council level.
That's right.
Tribal level. But, besides that, if we adopt this resolution, I will go on another addition in there, resolve or something. But adopting this, we do not waive sovereign immunity in any way or manner. I know it's down in there, but I'd like to see it
In your resolution.
In our resolution.
Great idea.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna comment on Chairman's comments.
You know, I see the unity that it would create amongst the tribes. I see the strength in numbers that they call liquidity. You know, where there's access to the tribe's other databases, their marketing skills. I see that you mentioned about enhancing the lobbying efforts. I also see that you're talking about affording leadership structure through this treaty thing, which really gives the tribe some accountability and kind of leads towards integrity. So, I mean, I see a lot of good things to this. You know, I had apprehensions too, like Mr. St. Germain does down there, about with the lack of any kind of council oversight. There's not too much. One person on the board shouldn't be speaking for this whole body. You know, so that was one of my concerns. But then thinking, you know, a little bit along the lines about how Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission operates and how Glitzy operates, them organizations in themselves are entrusted by the tribes to do the best for them, for us as a group, different tribes. But, you know, I see a lot of the pros here. And I really don't see too many cons. I mentioned a few that I did talk about, and you know, so I do support the thing. I like what Butch has says about, you know, pounding home that we're not going to waive this sovereign immunity.
Yeah.
I mean, that needs to be spelled out in the resolution. I would agree. And you know, a lot of the stuff that I've been hearing out there and been reading, it's so important nowadays that, you know, tribes getting involved with this intertribal commerce, intertribal trade and business. You know, any other type of things that we try to do, the state or the feds are stepping in and saying, you guys can't do that for some reason or another.
That's where I.
So, yeah, so that's why I like it. I like the idea that this creates that, you know, that wherewithal to go ahead and allow this intertribal commerce. And I think we need to go that route more.
you know, we, out in DC, been out there a couple times, and at those meetings with TIGA, there was no Indian standing in line saying this thing's gonna happen. These are all white folks. These are all legislators saying it's just a matter of time that internet gaming is gonna take its place. And I just think that, I mean, I just don't want the tribe to, you know, be the one sitting in the weeds and watching the train go by again. I just think that, you know, we can always get off at any one of the stops or stations that they have. Which,
I wouldn't have any problem supporting this, you know, as long as we get the changes that was mentioned here tonight. Instead of having you come up here and charging us all kinds of money, have Barry look at it, bring it to our council, and we could approve it that way.
Bill,
A few pickup comments, real quick comment back to your comments, Brooks. Yeah, absolutely, the, you know, the three my thought or a little bit of vision, if this is ratified and Dr. Fennell join this private treaty organization, the three representatives It'll be kind of similar to how you guys had me as your representative to all these meetings up until now. And I had a pretty good understanding of what you wanted me to do and what you wanted me not to do. And just as importantly, you gave me some level of authority to make decisions, but not carte blanche level of authority to make decisions. These three representatives, if you were to join TIGA, I see doing the same thing. You know, they're gonna be coming back and meeting with you frequently. Then when they go out to the next meeting, they should be pretty clear on what their marching orders are. So it's not like, you know, one or three people are gonna be speaking on behalf of the government, or be speaking for the government. Tom, back to your comment, your question, absolutely, this is a perfect scenario to use our platform, not our platform specifically, but the same platform we're on right now, and have a TIGA platform, a coalition of tribes throughout the country on this platform. We've already talked about it with our platform providers. We've already talked about a TIGA logo. So if people logged into the Lake of the Torches platform, it would show all Lake of the Torches stuff. But if people logged into the TIGA platform, it would be, you know, TIGA would have its logo and reference and that sort of thing. And I actually like all the comments that have been made here, and it helps reassure in my mind that you guys got a pretty good solid handle on this. And probably some of my apprehension that I was being candid with vocalizing, and maybe I overdid it, but I just wanted to absolutely make sure that there was no understanding or no perception that joining TIGA meant that we were joining online gaming, meant that millions of dollars was going to start rolling in the door tomorrow. Joining TIGA, if the Class 2 legalization route doesn't work, then you're into the scenarios that Jeff was saying, and I would say the scenarios that Jeff was saying and Jeremy Molson was saying are all kind of in that, what are all the things we can do while we wait for online gaming to become legal, but in the meantime, we can lobby, we can educate, we can get a free site up and running, we can build market share, we can build brand awareness. And as long as a tribal council, you have that perspective as to TIGA, it's really more of a next step strategy play here than it is a business issue. Perfect. That's exactly the reasons why, if you ratify and join TIGA, in my opinion, that's exactly the reasons why we should be doing it. It's for strategy and positioning and lobbying and things like that.
Mike?
I want to introduce a resolution supporting this, including some of the wording that, which, I want to think about the sovereignty. Probably having my attorney review it and stuff, so it's everything sits in place there.
If I may real quickly, I happened to stop into Barry's office just before coming in here on an operations note, and unfortunately, I just became aware that Barry hadn't seen this yet, so even prior to this meeting, I already said I was going to shoot the email over to Barry, so I'll be glad to be the one forwarding the treaty structure to Barry, if you'd like to do.
I'm gonna adopt Mike's
Need a
introduction.
second for more discussion?
I got some discussion.
A second, Betty, for
Or
discussion?
yes, I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
Is there, I'm illiterate when it comes to gambling, so maybe this is a stupid question, but is there internet gaming out there now?
There's real money wagered internet gaming going on in Nevada right now. It's ring fenced to the state boundaries of Nevada, but it's real money online gaming wagering. New Jersey's going to go live here in the next couple months. So far within the United States, it's going on a state-by-state basis. Outside of the United States, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry internationally, everywhere except the United States.
So with all the securities are, I mean, I was just watching some big
Yeah.
person that was $400 million, he was cheating,
No, yeah.
but,
But all the financial transaction securities and the age verification and the location verification, like in Nevada, they have to verify that you're within the boundaries of Nevada. They have to verify you have legal age to gamble. They have to, just like Bank Secrecy Act and all the other PCI compliance, they have to protect your transactions and protect the integrity of the money flowing back and forth.
so who protects that then? I mean, would protect us from not being,
Well, it would be our platform provider, and our platform provider happens to do that very thoroughly for the banking and financial industry already. They actually do it very significantly for the national defense industry as well. Doesn't mean that TIGA as a coalition would choose our platform, they might choose a different platform. But that's basically, it's probably a generic way, too generic to say it, Betty Jo, but your platform provider is obligated to have all those pieces in place. That's part of the due diligence you go through in selecting who you want your platform provider to be. You ask them all those questions. They have to prove to you that they can cover all those bases, things of that. But for what, more than 5 years, all those securities, all those technologies and integrities and securities behind the scenes have been well in place and well established. Like I said, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry outside the United States. That's why it's such a hot topic in the United States, because people view it to be billions of dollars of revenue sitting right here in the United States.
So it could come from anywhere in the United States, or is it just in Wisconsin?
It depends how it gets legalized in the United States. It depends if it goes on a state by state by state basis.
Or the feds could legalize it.
Or the federal government could legalize it, and then it has the potential of being state or the whole nation, or it has the potential of being even international wagering, to where you'd be betting on, say, a particular site from all over the globe.
We just think if the feds do it, the feds gonna have their fingers in there somewhere. Probably. So,
And
but-
then the other question I had was, what effects will that have on our casino then? Will people still come to our casino, or are
You
they
know,
gonna sit home and?
There's not too many examples of that. Canada is probably the best example, where they have bricks and mortar casinos and online gaming, legalized real money wagering online gaming. Online gaming became reality in most of, like in Europe, most of the European nations, before bricks and mortar gaming ever became real prevalent. So when it went online, there was no need to build casinos because it was already online. It's going to be an interesting scenario. It's all the more reason why you want to have some interest in being a player in the game, because it could be a full transition. I think it's going to be, to me, it's a good example. I don't think it means bricks and mortar casinos are going to become extinct. I think it's going to be very similar to what's happened in the retail industry. JCPenney's and Kohl's and Macy's and Nordstrom's, or wherever you do your shopping, Target, Walmart. When retail sales went online, you can buy tennis shoes or jeans or shirts or whatever you want to buy online. Some retail organizations didn't do that well, and they did kind of sabotage their bricks and mortar buildings. But others did it real well, and it certainly hasn't shut down the Walmarts of the world. It hasn't shut down, So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, if the retail world found a successful solution of taking their operations online but still maintaining a balance to keep their bricks and mortar buildings open, I suspect the same thing will happen in gaming.
same thing with your lottery tickets. People don't go to the casinos to play lottery, they go to the lottery pools, where they constantly throw money in there.
You probably have a lot of examples. I mean, think about like movies. I mean, you can order movies online. You can order a movie right onto this laptop right now if you want to. But it certainly didn't shut down all the movie theaters, So it's just kind of, it's a broadening of your business rather than eliminating a part of your business.
Well, the only reason I was asking is because I said I don't know much about.
And they're very valid questions.
What they're finding in Canada and Europe is that the people that play online are much younger than the ones that are going to the casinos. And so you're really not taking your customers out of the casinos and letting them stay at home. You're attracting new customers. And so now you've got your faithful older set that go to the casinos and the younger set that are playing online. And also learning about your casino through the online game, getting promotions through playing the online game, and getting comfortable playing certain games like poker or craps or something where they wouldn't maybe go and do that at your casino. They learn to play it online, get a promotion to say, hey, come to our casino and get X amount of money or a tournament, and then that attracts them in. So it's actually not, they're finding it's not taking away their customers.
Brooks?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to kind of refresh colleagues' memories here, is the action that we took was to have the Gaming Commission and the attorney, one of our attorneys, Andrew, look at this here and get back to us. So now it's here. I'd like to hear from Andrew if we can right now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yeah, thank you. My name is Andrew Adams. I'm an attorney with a law firm in St. Paul, Minnesota. At the time that I did the analysis for Lac du Flambeau, I was with a firm called Jacobson, well, the firm's name was Jacobson Buffalo for a while. It changed to Jacobson Magnuson. I've since left that firm and joined a new one called Hogan Adams. But I presented a memo to the Lacta Flambeau Gaming Commission and to the council back in August, where I was asked to take a look at the TIGA treaty from a diligence standpoint to just see if there was anything in it that raised any alarms on the tribe side, and to also kind of give just a basic analysis of the current state of the law when it comes to internet gaming in the United States. And my findings were kind of echoed by Bill and Jeff earlier. I mean, the tribe's exposure in terms of entering the TIGA treaty are pretty low. I mean, there's nothing that, if you were to enter into it, there's nothing that prevents you from backing out, the next day. Where the rubber really hits the road in terms of exposure is if TIGA, you enter into the TIGA treaty, and then a month later, TIGA says, give us $1 million for startup cash. I mean, that's literally, like in layman's terms, where you would, the bridge that you're gonna cross right now is pretty flat with no trolls. It may change in terms of getting curved or might have some trolls hiding underneath it. And those usually present themselves when big money gets involved. But at least right now, the exposure is extremely low. And I mean, I couldn't find anything in the treaty where my advice to you all would be to stay away from them. So, and in terms of, the only thing that I would echo about the current state of affairs of internet gaming is that for tribes it is occurring on a very limited degree. I mean, there are a few tribes that have rolled out like these iPads on their reservation that are tied to a secured network at their casino, where the person isn't technically on the gaming floor, but they're wagering real money for the tribe. And in my opinion, that's still internet-based mobile gaming that the Unlawful Internet Gaming Enforcement Act of 2006 allows under a tribal safe harbor. That federal law specifically says that a tribe can offer that type of gaming on land that they exercise sovereign, powers over. So it is legal under the law. And then you even have, and I don't exactly know where it's at, right now, but you have a tribe in Oklahoma that actually entered into an agreement with the governor's office, the Cheyenne Arapahoes, where they were effectively offering for money gambling on their trust land in Oklahoma, but to international players. And you had the governor sign off on allowing that as long as the tribe was not going to accept any real money wagers from effectively anybody located in the continental United States. So, I mean, to kind of echo what President Molson was saying, I mean, I think the timing is kind of right for someone to kind of get out ahead of it. And I had that same question, like, why hasn't anybody stepped out and just done it? But there have been other tribes that are similarly situated to Lacta Flambeau that have kind of stepped out and at least done free play on their own respective websites. The Metawakan Shakopee Sioux community in Minnesota has done that. The Yaquis down in southern Arizona have issued one. I mean, you all have, there's other tribes that have, it's just that the missing link is that no one's connected the dots to form a coalition. And actually, there have been some tribes that have actually been actively critical of the National Indian Gaming Association for not helping to facilitate, more of those conversations. And so, I mean, but at least from a legal diligence standpoint, there's no like red herrings or, Bigfoots, waiting on the edges of the woods when it comes to, the NIGA, or I'm sorry, not the NIGA, but the TIGA treaty is the way it's proposed. And I did have conversations with Jeff back when I was actively looking at this about, one concern that I did have was dispute resolution within NIGA, or within TIGA itself. That if, say you did have 3 tribes that actively join the organization, what happens if a dispute arises amongst them? You know, like how is that handled? And initially it was left to the Treaty Council, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
And I had proposed to Jeff that maybe some thought be put into creating a separate alternative dispute resolution body underneath NIGA or TIGA, so that a dispute could stay in TIGA and you don't have 2 tribes like openly fighting about it in federal district court or some other place. And I can't remember, maybe Jeff can speak to that, because I think some tweaks were made to the treaty based on that, right?
Good comment, and I built it in. I didn't want to create it out of whole cloth myself, and so what I did is just added a provision that said that the Treaty Council would create the rules for this dispute resolution body. And so that's in there. I didn't want to pretend to be good enough to do that myself, but that was a good idea. We should have that separate body to resolve disputes internally, so we weren't hauling each other to court.
Yeah, and I mean, I still stand by that advice. If you did enter into TIGA, I would challenge the other TIGA member tribes to create some good alternative dispute resolution language, so that a dispute amongst the TIGA member tribes could be handled within a framework that TIGA creates, and where you're not relying on an outside body to do that for you.
I'm not sure that, yeah, you probably couldn't go to court because of the, no tribe is waiving its sovereign immunity by entering TIGA, so I don't know
Right.
how, it would just get ugly. And
Yeah.
so maybe this would be
I really believe that that's where agreements can be made amongst
Yeah.
themselves.
Mhm.
And
I would just challenge
There
the
is
tribes
some-
to get
right.
going on that once you enter into it, so.
yeah.
Any more discussion? No?
Question?
Question then call for it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mention? Carried. No.
What next, sir?
Confederation meeting, 5 other tribes that scoop up over there and let's go.
Well, one thing I could do, if you're still gonna meet and have something else to do, I could revise this. I'm not sure I'm shifting gears, I'm talking about this
I
resolution.
mentioned to Mike and Tom, I mentioned to you earlier that I feel like.
Yeah, I know you gotta go.
Are you okay if I?
Yeah, that's fine.
District.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
If there's further business, I could go to the business center and revise this resolution to add the language about sovereign immunity and come right back.
You can do it in my office too if you want.
Should I try that?
Why don't you go with Andrew and go see Barry? Sit right
I've never
there.
met there, so that would be great.
Andrew, you take him in to see Barry.
Okay,
We got other business now.
all right, so we're getting kicked out.
All right, and you can
Okay,
always
all right.
come back if you got it done.
We're gonna
You
revise
can
it.
see the reality of it.
Mr. Chairman, can I make one comment? And I know I've talked to Andrew and several of other attorneys that represent the nation. And treaties are entered into between sovereigns. You know, historically, reservations were the divide and conquer tactic. We are all one nation here with all the federation tribes. So I would strongly suggest that we kind of take a look at that terminology, and because if we're going to go about the business of promoting nationhood, then let's take a look at that word treaty and maybe change it around a little bit to intergovernmental agreement or something that fits our whole concept of nationhood. That's just from me.
Maybe you need to go with him then. Okay.
All right, get your 2 cents in over there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So that was an email yesterday, she just wanted to
too bad about excess of their, what is it, 120 hours or something?
Can I knock mine out real quick?
I don't, yeah.
Teresa, I don't know if you guys got a chance to read her email here she sent today. What about the kids going down to represent their trophy there where they took first place? They're in need of some gas, they got rooms covered. Frank's taken, you're introducing for 200.
Second.
Alice, Gus, Lou. $200 gas for our drivers.
Gas card.
Card.
Gas card. They're going to defend their title down in Milwaukee. No, the drums.
Their whole school last year.
Call for the question, Mr. Chairman.
Pardon me?
I'd like to call for the question.
I had a good sidebar going.
Yep.
I thought Frank would intervene there. Good to help me. Okay, there's a question been called for. What's the question?
$200 gas card.
Tom Circle.
Come on, circle.
Okay.
Where they going?
Just one caveat, I guess. I'd just like to make sure that the students aren't true, whenever we're setting them, that if they have some truancy issues, that, I don't know, someone can say that, this isn't, it shouldn't be rewarded for my going to school.
You're right, because we're gonna have to miss tomorrow. Paco wanted to be there Thursday, so I don't know how.
Can we get excuses? I mean, excuses are granted, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not truant.
Yeah, I know.
Truant is not showing up for school.
Yeah, no, they're in school I mean, they're not true, none of them are true.
Yeah. Well, I understand my grandson's doing really well this year too, so, I just think about those things in the background.
But I was thinking about that the other day, because we need them Thursday, and they're gonna miss, or they're gonna miss tomorrow.
Just have to work out something to teach them.
Ahead of time,
Yeah,
so.
it's
Well, we had a discussion this morning with Ron Brennan exactly about incorporating culture into the school and those sorts of things, and I think he would be receptive to that, as an excused absence.
And with Desmond, someone would have to call the high school.
We talked about that in truancy court, because I did go with Desmond, because he got a truancy citation. And the thing, he had passing grades, he was getting caught up with everything, but he failed to tell them that where he was going.
You're not on the agenda.
And so all they've got to do is let them know, and they said they are more than happy to excuse them. That, I forget what his name is, but he's always there in tribal court from the high school. And he said that's all they need to do is let them know. Then they can make arrangements, and then they can stay and do their schoolwork and stuff. Because they encourage it, the cultural stuff, because they're going. Because Desmond went to Mille Lacs and he went all over and never told.
Yeah, that's what it was, that we should have gotten.
Yeah. So, that's all they gotta do is just
Yep,
tell them.
we can work with them on it. Okay.
Is this from which line item? Promo?
Almost special events.
Yeah, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Who's gonna handle it, you, Frank?
For the gas card?
Yeah.
I mean, where do I?
Right there.
Store.
Okay,
I can have that for you after the.
okay. What?
Okay. Second.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Ladies and gentlemen, give us a few minutes.